As AI tech advances in the military, there are a lot of ways to incorporate machine learning into American defense. Should commanders embrace it or fear it? We spoke to one leading mind in the field in a recent webcast who says the latter is uncalled for. Skynet isn't about to turn on its human creators anytime soon. Here's some of our conversation on integrating AI into the military. Have a look.
How would you define the differences between AI, autonomy, and machine learning? Where do you think people are getting their wires crossed? You serve as the chief of AI test and operations as well.
I definitely think people misunderstand artificial intelligence, machine learning. The way I think about it is kind of when I talk AI, I'm really talking about machine learning. The Department of Defense defines AI as the ability of machines to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. And that's just like, I don't know, like the toilet that flushes on its own would be considered AI with that very vague definition. So I typically think of AI as machine learning. There are nuanced differences. Machine learning is a subset of AI, but in our conversation today, they're going to be synonymous. And it's good for people to realize too, like there's traditional software code, which is deterministic. It is if-then statements, you give it an input, you can always have this, you will always have the same output, right? It's deterministic. And then there is machine learning software code that is stochastic, which means it doesn't always give you the same output. And the way I think about machine learning is it's software code that is rewriting itself based on rules and guardrails that the coder is putting in. It's rewriting itself based on the data. And that means that the output is not always exactly the same. And it's the same, you go into ChatGPT, which is stochastic machine learning software code, and you could ask it a specific question and it'll change kind of the answers that it gives you on the back end. So that's the difference, but they're all software. And it's important for people to realize, to level set, like when we're talking machine learning, we're just talking computer software. It's the next evolution of computer software.
And so the Air Force has publicly discussed being AI ready by 2025, I believe, and AI competitive by 2027. Excuse me if I messed up those dates a little bit, but could you maybe break that down for us and your thinking regarding that? Why not AI ready now, AI competitive in 2025, for example?
I think the reality is when you look at those three things that made AI possible, right? Big data, compute power, and algorithms. You recognize too that they require really strong foundation. And we are working right now on ensuring that our foundation has the right pipelines, architecture to allow the data to be shared appropriately, right? You don't want to create a sensor, maybe it's a drone, maybe it's something else, and have the data coming off of that not be able to be useful in decision-making or other applications, right? So we need the right pipeline set up. We also need the right compute power, right? Supercomputers have not been around for that long. Also, if I'm taking these applications and I'm trying to apply machine learning, say on the edge. When I say on the edge, listeners should think of like trying to do all of the computer functions like on the platform itself, instead of like a cloud solution where you take data, you send it to a cloud, maybe it goes to a supercomputer somewhere and it figures out an answer and then sends it back to a platform, like being able to do all that on the platform. Well, that really requires like GPUs, so graphic processor units compared to the CPUs, processing units. So now the graphic processing units haven't been around for that long, right? And so we've needed the technology to basically evolve to ensure that we could do the compute where we need to, when we need to, that we had the right data tools and architectures and pipelines and platforms. And that just takes time and investment. And so we as a Department of Defense have been very much focused on making that a reality. And that's the timeline that we're looking at, right? Because that's really the robust foundation that's required, takes years to get there. And it's a top priority.
We have time for one last quick question here. And I will ask you, what are some AI, machine learning, or automation myths or misunderstandings we could dispel today? What can't they do?
AI is not becoming sentient, and it's not taking over the world. Like Skynet's not happening, I don't think ever, but I'd have to be convinced if it's happening anytime soon. I'm not saying the conversations aren't important to understand the bounds of technology, and like I welcome that, but I don't think AI is becoming sentient anytime soon. AI is not going away. This isn't a fad, so it's not going to like next week. ChatGPT, generative AI is gone. No, like this is absolutely just a part of our future, just like computers were a part of our future when they were, brought into our lives more predominantly. AI is the same, right? I think it's important for people to know that AI is going to creatively destruct some things, like creative destruction, not a bad thing. But I don't think it's going to destroy our society. I don't think it's going to destroy our career fields. I think it is going to change our career fields. So if I were, and what I teach my kids is like, learn about the technology, understand it, understand how it could apply to your current job. Like there's power in that knowledge. And I think, I also think our adversaries are creating AI that don't necessarily adhere to our values and our individual liberty, and we need to drive those conversations and compel the world to ethically, adopt AI solutions. So I think those are. I'm not sure about if I busted any myths. Well, I guess it's sentient. I'm not sure if people thought that. And I also, AI is not magic. It is math. It is software, right? There are guardrails. There are coders. There is a responsible way of approaching this. And I'm confident we can get there because the potential is remarkable. When we get AI, partnered with a human, we can optimize human performance and change many things for the better.